Hello YouTubes, this is Grimweird, back with more Enigmatica 2 Expert mod pack playthrough. So between last episode, I think last episode we played with our enchantment area. I enchanted a bow up a bit to give it unbreaking in multi-shot 4. Yeah, other than that we don't have too much more going on. So other things I did was I wanted to get more books stocked up here to start, storing up enchantments I like on books. So I ran around. I actually ended up going all over the place, but I ran up to this sort of lake country up here, where there was lots of beaches, and I found a ton of a ton of sugar cane. It ended up making a ton of paper, and then let's see, what else did I do? Oh, so I came back and we still want to. All of that running around was irritating me because, jumping around with the slime boots and slime sling. I really want to get a glider going. So I really want to get forestry going. So I did make a few things for forestry since we're now accumulating goods, but I didn't walk through them yet or start using them yet until I wanted to show you where we're at. So if we take a look at our book, you can see here we got an exclamation point. So we completed the sturdy casings. That was pretty easy. We just had some copper gears, some bronze gears, and some bronze. So, I got my gear mold here, so I just bashed those out. Nothing too complicated. But we now have to decide what we want to choose. So 4 sturdy casings, instead of making 1, I ended up making 4. But I'm going to burn through them pretty quick, especially if I use them as one of the optional recipes for making the basic components of another building block for another mod. The aqueous accumulator, as far as I can tell, it sort of condenses water out of the air and just provides a water source that you can slap on a machine that needs water. There are a couple forestry machines that do need water. However, this didn't look too hard to build, and I think I can easily just throw some buckets in the forestry ones at this point in time. And 32 bronze is nice, but to be honest, with vein miner, if I decide to go tear up a landscape, I can get a lot of tin and a lot of copper pretty quick. So I'm not too worried about getting bronze. I'll need a lot of it, but I can get a lot of it. So sturdy casings, they take up quite a bit of stuff. So, four of those is going to be like that's going to be like quite a bit of bronze anyway, and it'll save us time not having to make gears and whatnot. So I think I'm just going to take more sturdy casing. So that gets us to actually additions. So that we need iron casing, and the iron casing actually requires more stuff out of forestry. We're not quite ready for that. The electron tubes take a thermionic whatchamajigger, thermionic fabricator. I haven't made one of those yet, so it's going to be a while for that. I did want to talk a bit about gates. So one of the things we're doing, then let's talk about, we got a few more things we need to claim. I went ahead and made the coke oven. I made some treated wood. So we have an episode or 2 ago, we got the coke oven cooking. It is slow, but we can't actually use the coal coke yet because we haven't finished our blast furnace. So we have time to build up. I've already got 1 stack. We're working through another. 1 stack of coal turns into 1 stack of this and 32 buckets of creosote. So I already have a bucket of creosote, and that's what you use to make the treated wood. And we needed some of those for some of the forestry items. So I went ahead and took my full bucket out, ran it upstairs, used some of that to make treated wood. It's just a bunch of wood around a bucket of creosote. So we've got that cooking. Um, but anyway, so we made some of that. Sometimes if you run across a village that has one of the little immersive um, engineering buildings, you can actually just steal the wood out of the building, and that makes things a little easier. You can get like 30, 40 planks out of that building. But that's going to give us a loot chest. So let's take a look at what we got there. We got sweet and sour meatballs. Um, Now, when I first started playing this mod pack, I was a little disappointed because I knew you could get some really cool stuff out of this. So I was a little disappointed to be getting, dribs and drabs of food. However, when you eat them, it's usually really good food. And when you eat them, you can build up. They really help you start ramping up these extra hearts that you get for eating a wide variety of different foods. So it's not yet eaten, and it's good food. So we're going to go ahead and be happy for that, even though it is a common drop. Because getting at least 6 more hearts going, filling up that bar with the orange hearts would make me happy. So what do we got next? The blast furnace, we might be able to make that today. Engineer's workbench. We actually have everything we need to make that real quick. So we might make that today. Alloy kiln bricks, that's really easy. We have sand and brick, so we can make that real quick. But really I want to get focused on forestry. So we open the gate with this. That's one of the things we just claimed. So now we can go over to the Forestry tab, and now this is available for us to click. So welcome to Forestry. This is a Tier 1 tech mod. It offers power generation, automatic farms, breeding systems for bees and trees, and more. So we're going to click yes, and claim our loot chest, and see what we got there. Oh, beautiful. This is beautiful. So an Osgloglas block. Os is for osmium, glow is for glowstone, and glass is for oh no wait, os is for obsidian, I think. Anyway, I don't know. It's obsidian and glowstone and osmium alloy, which we cannot really make the refined obsidian or the refined glowstone yet, or probably not for quite some time. But the wonderful thing about this, the reason I'm so excited all of a sudden, is that if we break out our Akashic Tome, which is where? Here, where we are combining all of our different books. And we go to Materials and U for Tinker Construct, and we open that. And we go to Tool Materials, and then we find Osgloglas. We will see that it has a lot. First of all, the durability is very high for the head, but also it has a lot of these things on it. And Global Traveler, we've already sort of put Global Traveler on one of our mining picks so that we can assign it by shift right clicking on an inventory box, and then everything we mine with that pickaxe goes to that box. So that's a beautiful thing for inventory management. Sassy crit on players and bosses. We're not really doing much fighting yet. We're still in the establishing ourselves in the world phase. But here's the one that I really want, Brown Magic. It says press the set portal key to set a virtual portal on the block you are pointing at. By default, press Y to teleport there if there is enough space. So once you have Brown Magic on a weapon or tool, you can say, if I point to that block where that thing is, and I hit the set portal thing, and you might have to remap it because I had to find it and remap it, but it's set portal is the name of it. Um, and I do that command. Then when I run around the world, I'm just over here, and then I go, oh crap, I've got the tool that has Osgloglas on it. Boom, I hit my portal thing, and whoop, I teleport right over there, just like an Enderman. And it works across dimensions. So some of you might have been wondering why I bothered making all these obsidian tools, an axe, a mattock, a comma, an excavator, when I'm not even going to be using them that much. But the reason is because, and here's the key point, each tool is different. So if I break this block up, and we'll go ahead and do that now, break this up into its 9 things, and I pick some cheap things, like let's say a binding is usually cheap, whatever that's cheap to put it on, and then put it on like 7 to 9 different weapons or tools. I can now set several teleport places throughout the world and just boop, pull out that tool and teleport there. So what I did in my trial of this before I decided to do a let's play of it was I had it on my sword, and the teleport anchor for the sword was my base in the nether. I had it on my pickaxe, and for the pickaxe it was my main base, so I appeared right by my bed and crafting tables in my main base. And then for my hammer, I had it at a different part in my base. So like for here, we might put the pickaxe near the business end of wherever I'm going to set up my actual shop here, near a bed and crafting tables. And then the hammer might be up at the surface. And so then, rather than going up and down the ladder, I can just teleport up and down. Beautiful. The only problem I ran into with this system, and I played with it an awful lot, was that I actually I didn't run into any problems with it. I had a problem, but much like the beginning of this Let's Play, the problem was a hamster. I tamed a hamster and brought it back to my base and had it near my bed, but it would wander around. And there was one time when I went to sleep in the bed and then tried to get out of the bed and appeared in the same block as the hamster had run into and glitched out, so it wouldn't let me get out of bed. It kept crashing. So that took some finagling to get out of that mess. I don't think I actually ever fixed it. I think it just went away itself. I think I kept trying, and eventually the hamster got pushed out of the way. But yeah, so this Osgloglas system is fantastic. So we have Alamite on here, so we already have Global Traveler on here, but we can replace that. That'll take up 1 bar of the Osgloglas. We can put the Slime Obsidian Hammer is let's run upstairs. I haven't upgraded this one down here yet from a tool station to a tool forge, so I can't look at my hammer there, I don't think. But let's run up here to our tool forge. So the hammer doesn't make a great rod. So this is the hard one. I think I actually waited to do this one. I actually got 2 of this rare reward, so I ended up with 2 blocks of Osgloglas, and that's when I upgraded my hammer, because the hammer head is 8 and each large plate is 8. So that's going to use up like almost all of my Osgloglas to try and put something on a hammer. Whereas if I just want to use it mostly for teleport, I could go ahead and throw it on the axe, on probably the shovel head maybe of the axe, or the binding. The binding is going to be cheap. It's going to be 1 there. And if I throw it on, let's see, the mattock, axe head and shovel head might only be 1. Let's see how much that costs. Shovel head, material cost 2. Axe head, material cost 2. comma head material cost 2. So probably what I'll do is break this out and put a binding, replace the Elamite binding with a Osgloglas binding on here. I'll use up one. I'll put I'll use a binding on my axe, and I'll probably use a binding on my comma, and that will give me 3 teleport points. And my sword. I have been using this Ender sword, but I'm feeling guilty because I'm not getting experience on my broadsword. So we should probably end that. Eventually I want to make a laser gun, but I do want to start working a bit on my real oops, I put it away. I want to be working on my real Tinker's Construct sword, because they can get pretty darn powerful once you level them up. So that's another thing I'll probably do off camera. It's currently just a flint broadsword. I might go ahead and put a Osgloglas wide guard on it. I think the wide guard will use up only one of my Osgloglas ingots. And I probably will go ahead, and I like the emerald blades because I like the elemental effect, because you can get lots of regeneration and absorption and water breathing by just spam slapping your enemies with the emerald blade. So I'll probably go ahead and put an emerald blade on it, and I'll probably also go ahead and put an osmium handle on it. The only thing that's sort of dangerous about that is I don't want to spend a lot of emeralds repairing it, but I'm not going to be doing a ton of fighting right yet. And I'll probably be able to replace the emerald blade before I get way too far into battle, or I may even never need to, because I may upgrade to a laser gun, and the emerald does last a long time. Alright, so that's the kind of things. I totally got sidetracked and talked about all of this much more, but that's why it's important to get those loot crates and open them. You never know when you're going to get something that completely changes your priorities. Like, for instance, I am far more interested in going to the Nether now that I can, say, set a teleport point at my Nether fortress where it's nice and safe, and then if I go run around the Nether, I can instantly teleport if things get ugly. Fall in the lava, boom, teleport to my base. Get attacked by, 50 blaze, boom, teleport to my base. So that has just really opened up a lot of fun for us. So on that note of how important it is to be opening loot crates, I did build ahead on forestry a bit, because you guys don't want to just sit and watch me craft all day. So I did build the carpenter, the squeezer, and the clockwork engine between episodes. But let's just take a real quick look at what those are, and we can do it here. So the carpenter is sort of the basic entry machine. It required some treated wood, which we made with that creosote oil from the coke oven. I got a lot of these fresh waters from Pam's Harvest Craft, because that's one of the byproducts of getting slime. Here we go, out of the honeycomb that we press into honey, and then we press into slime and water. So those can take the place of water buckets in some recipes. So that was pretty easy to build, so I went ahead and built that. We did build some sturdy casings just to unlock forestry. So that's ready to go. So let's take a look at the loot chest. Claim. And what did we get? A drawer controller. That's actually very handy. It's not gated too bad, but the drawer controller is going to be handy, especially now that we're going to be doing some more extensive stuff. We're already reaching a point where I really need some storage drawers to start compacting stuff and doing things. The drawer controller is not too hard to, that's a compacting drawer. The drawer controller is not too hard to make, really, but it does require some redstone engineering blocks, which is why I haven't done it yet. and those do take a little bit of resources, some copper plates, some constant tan ingots, so I haven't made any of those yet. This is doable. One thing I can use this as an example to point out is that those redstone engineering blocks from, I think it's Extra Utilities. No, what are those from? Actually Additions, maybe? Alright, I'm just going to have to look. Again, I'm no expert. I don't always know what this is. Immersive engineering. So immersive engineering, if we take a look at that, we haven't reached that level yet here. We still got to make our blast furnace and our approved blast furnace and yada yada before we get there, before we can get the reward. However, I did test it, and you can make this redstone engineering block ahead of time. You don't have to wait until you get there. So if you can make the materials, and we could, it's all it is some constant tan and some other metal, you can go ahead and make it now. You just won't be able to get credit for the gate and to get the reward for the gate until you unlock the prerequisites. So this could be important. For instance, we're going to try and take advantage of that to maybe skip ahead on some power generation. So extra utilities, for the gates for extra utilities, I haven't done that yet. I could do that, but I want to make, if I want to use this recipe, I need to get further into, to make 3 at a time, I need to get further into forestry first. So if I haven't done that yet, at first I was worried I wouldn't be able to make any of this extra utility stuff. I was afraid it would all be locked up. But I wanted to try to make a survival generator because it is a really cheap thing. We've got tons of charcoal that we could just throw in there. And if we look at the recipe for the survival generator, it doesn't take anything fancy. We're talking cobblestone, an iron ingot, a furnace, which we stole lots of, and a couple redstone. Piece of cake. Could make that day one. It doesn't require any, like, fancy stuff from any other mod to make. It's just totally basic. And that's what I wanted, was something, totally basic. But I wasn't sure I could build it. It turns out you can. So I did go ahead and build ahead. Did I? Yes, I went ahead and built one. Now, the thing that I did forget was that extra utilities, you have to have a GP grid. So essentially you make, they have the normal power system, which I think just uses RF or an RF analog. But then all of these things, I think the GP stands for grid points or something like that. So you have to have this sort of overarching grid, and you have to build bandwidth for that grid. And then all of the machines and stuff that you put on that grid take up a portion of that bandwidth. And so currently, like if I were to just throw this down here, you can see I point out it says grid power 0 of 0. So it's not using any, and we don't have any. So then I thought, well, maybe this won't work for me because maybe I need to make a little grid power. So it gets confusing when you're trying to build ahead on these gates, but if we take a look here, as soon as we do open extra utilities, we're going to make GP generation 1. So this is how you make all that stuff. And the first one, which I did touch on when I was doing my preview of this mod pack for myself, is just some of these solar panels. And so if we take a look at those, GP solar panels. So these are pretty easy to make. Polished stone is easy. That's just some stone bricks, which are made out of stone. So that's real easy. We've got some lapis. These resonating redstone crystals are a bit rare, but I have found 3 of them. I think this gate might call for 9 total solar panels to get credit for making these solar panels. And I think I'm going to want 9 of them anyway, just to get enough GP to start moving. to start putting stuff on the network. So one of the things we're going to do, and we can actually do that right now, is, wait, we're going to make 3 sets of that. So now, even though I have not taken the gate for extra utilities, I haven't done that yet, and I haven't gone to extra utilities and collected my book. I have now made the GP Generation 1 and the survival generator. And what that'll do is that'll give me a little power, a little charcoal burning power to help fuel my forestry stuff. Because if I just stick with forestry, then my first option is this clockwork engine. I did make it just to open it up and to get the loot crate, so let's take a look at it. The clockwork engine is pretty easy. It took some gold to make the clock, but we have plenty of gold now that we can do some more doubling, and now that we're digging around. And we stole a bunch of pistons from things, so this was pretty easy to make, and I'll show you how it works in a moment. But basically you just slap it on a machine, but then you have to stand there and wind it up, and I didn't really enjoy that for too long. It was fun and novel for, the first few times I used it, but it gets real old real quick. So that's why I sort of tried to skip ahead and get that survival generator going. A gun turret for immersive engineering. Wow. So I have no idea what that is. I think it's probably a defensive thing for guarding your base. We're not going to worry about that right now. So we will just throw that in here for later. And I did also make the squeezer. And again, the squeezer wasn't too bad. The sturdy casings that we used to start this, a couple of tin gears, some treated stuff, some treated wood that we made a bunch of. So that's all good to go, so we can claim that. And take a look at our loot. Light gray concrete powder, common. That's not too exciting. It might be useful for something at some point, but we got a stack of that now. We'll just set that aside for now. They can't all be winners, like the Osgloglas block. So the reason I was pushing for that is, again, I really want a glider, and now we can set up those forestry machines. The carpenter is, let's see, what do we need for that? For the glider, we need the impregnated sticks, and for those, we are going to turn some logs into sticks by impregnating them with some seed oil, and so that's why we needed the squeezer. So first thing we'll do is squeeze some seeds, get some seed oil, take a bucket of that, throw it in this carpenter, and impregnate some sticks with some logs. And why don't I take a jump cut right now? I've sort of been babbling. I got all excited about the Osgloglas block, and I think I'm approaching my time limit here. So I'm going to jump cut, and I'm going to figure out where I want to set up my forestry devices and my solar panels and my survival generator, and try and get a feel for how I'm going to set all this up. And then we'll come back and make our impregnated sticks and call it an episode. So we'll be back shortly. Okay, we're back. I went ahead and set up the extra utilities 2 solar panels up along here. Each one is generating 1 power. It says I got 0 of 9. I'm using up 0 of 9 grid power, so I think the 9 solar panels are giving me 9 grid power. I threw the survival generator up on here just to see if it would work. I don't think it's actually using up any grid power, so I may not have needed to make those solar panels, which makes this survival generator a really good, I think, entry level into getting some RF. And I checked, and it is filling up. It did fill up my squeezer with RF, so that's good. Um, it's pretty darn slow, and it seems to be continuing maybe to slowly burn fuel really slowly, maybe, um, even though it's full and the squeezer is full. So I'm not exactly sure about that, but that's something I'll have to keep an eye on. I've never used one of these before. I just saw the recipe and thought, hey, this might work. So to make our impregnated sticks, we are going to need, so we got glider, impregnated sticks. We're going to need them in the carpentry one, but we're going to need seed oil. And the seed oil we're going to get from squeezing any old seeds. So I got a bunch of grass seed with me, and we're going to do that. So the first thing I learned about the squeezer is that each seed only makes like a tiny amount of seed oil. And there are probably easy ways to get the seed oil out if you have fluid pipes and etc. But since a lot of that stuff is gated and a pain in the butt to make, we don't really have a real, I think, real simple way that's easily craftable at this point to get the seed oil over to the carpenter. So it makes only 10 millibuckets per seed. To get 1,000 for one full bucket, we need 100 seed. So I threw 100 seed in there, and we're going to let that cook away. And then when we get to a full bucket, we will just bucket it over to the carpenter. But the survival generator is definitely chugging. It's slow. It's now burning some coal. It's slowly feeding power in and slowly moving this along. So this is going to take a while, so I will jump cut here until we are done. Okay, I am back. The survival generator is working. It doesn't even seem to really need grid power. It was an easy recipe, but it is slow. It is not generating things very fast. Speed upgrades would probably help immensely. I can't remember if I've already gotten those. You do get those as a reward, I think, from one of the early extra utilities things, either the gate or, let's see, maybe it's the gate. Yes, so if I had finished this, I could probably slap 4 speed upgrades in it, and it would probably be much more reasonable. But the nice thing about it is that unlike this clockwork engine, which I will demonstrate shortly when our seed oil is done, I can at least walk away from this. So I was able to walk away, and I'm still excited about our Osgloglas, so I went and made some things. First of all, this flint broadsword, which we've never really used, we're going to totally rebuild it. We can make it stronger, faster. So I took a look at the Osgloglas has the actual sword blade. It's got a great durability at 2800 and an attack of 11. So that is not a bad sword blade at all. So we're going to start by, going from an attack of 4.9 to an attack of 13 on this bad boy. So now that's going to make a huge improvement. It's going to be more powerful than that Ender sword that I've been carrying around. And I can actually, put some mods on it and do some good stuff. So that's going to be step 1. I hear critters. A spider outside. So the other thing I want to do is the wooden handle is all fine and good, but it's got a modifier of 1 and a durability of 25. I can now do better. So the osmium tool rod as a handle has a modifier of 1.2 and a durability of 45. So we will go from a 3,151 durability to 3,798. So that's going to be a nice one for us. And we will get dense, which will actually let it last even longer, and well established, so we'll gain XP, more XP from using it. So that is a win. We're going to get that. And then finally, I have mentioned a couple times that I really like the emerald Oops, and I made the wrong thing, did I? Yes. Pause a moment. I need to go. I broke an emerald gem into nuggets and used a couple of nuggets of emerald to make a emerald binding. That wasn't quite what I wanted to do. I'll put that on some other tool. I wanted to make a emerald wide guard, so I will be right back with that. Okay, back, and we're going to finish off our sword here. We got, oh, that's why I did the blade, is because the binding is terra firma, not elemental. Well, we might have to live without elemental. It's nice, but not as nice as an Osgloglas blade. Tool materials, emerald. Okay, yeah, so I'm not going to get that, but the attack on a emerald blade is only 7. So going with the Osgloglas for the 11 attack is definitely going to be preferable. I don't even know what Terraforma does. Oh, you heal over time when you have it. Oh, that's handy. We'll still go ahead and put that on there then. And it's got a good durability, so why not? So Emerald Guard it is. We're going from 37.98 to 38.37, so a little bit of increase there. The green fits our color scheme, so that's pleasant to the eye, as opposed to my rainbow monstrosity from my mining pick. So then on the mining pick, the other things we did with our Osgloglas, I used up 7 of the 9. I'm keeping the last 2 ingots in reserve until I decide exactly what I want to do with them. But we definitely want to throw a binding on our mining pick so that we can use it to teleport. So that is going to be nice. We're going from a 1341 to a 1365, so not much change other than the fact that we're going from just Global Traveler to now being Global Traveler and Brown Magic and Sassy. Not that I'm going to be hitting players or bosses with my mining pick, but Brown Magic is going to be the key there, so now we've got that. While I'm standing here, I'll go ahead and repair it. And now the other thing that I didn't mention before, but I remembered as I was trying to think out what I wanted to do with this newfound wealth of Osgloglas, is that if we take a look at our quest book, Osgloglas is actually one of the harvest levels. So next up on our list is Cobalt and Manulin. I think this harvest level 9 is Osgloglas. So I think we're going to be able to jump from 6 to 9 right now, which will be handy because then we'll be able to mine a lot of stuff in the nether without having to get cobalt first and Manulin first and then come back and mine stuff. So we're going to jump straight to this. This will also allow us to get everything, I think, in the overworld, even the platinum and charged Certus crystals, and I think everything in the overworld will be mineable now. I think this one is Enderium. I was looking at ways to jump to that, and if you go to the plains and just kill a bunch of grass, you can get the occasional Ender Lily, and if you put 2 Ender Lilies into a magma crucible, which takes a little while to get to, but I think Enderium probably takes a little while to get to as well, you can get molten ender and do that. And you might be able to just build it with ender pearls. I forget, I didn't take a look. I was just doing that as a thought experiment. These things, I don't even know what those are necessarily, so we'll worry about those later. Those are more in-game stuff, I think. But anyway, so I made a couple of sharpening kits, one for the mining pick and one for the mining hammer. So we're going to go ahead and grab some flint and upgrade our mining status. So here we're going to go from obsidian to Osgloglas. Beautiful. Loving it. And here we're going to go from obsidian to... Oh, now see, this happened last time too. I'm not sure what's going on here. Something is not right. Well, maybe not. Okay, there it goes. For a second there, I thought it wasn't going to give us the upgraded level, but it did when I put the flint in. So yeah, we're going from obsidian to Osgloglas here with sharpening. So now we'll be able to mine the snot out of everything with both our silk touch pickaxe, and once I get a few more lapis, I'm going to start putting looting or luck or whatever they call it on my hammer, so I can start doubling up on gems. So that's all beautiful. I have a leftover emerald binding, which I can throw on probably one of my, throw on my axe or just something weird. And then I also have 2 ingots left over of the Osgloglas that I might go ahead and put on some of these obsidian tools that I almost never use, just to use it as a teleport waypoint. But speaking of that, let's go ahead and show that off. You can reassign it however you want. You might have to look around in your controls. So options, controls, I think it's called set portal. Set portal. So it was originally on something that wasn't working, so I changed it to apostrophe. And so if I do that, let's get out of here. So if I point to a square, and let's just let's do it right next to our bed. I don't want to be too crowded because I don't want to try and appear on a monster or something, but I'm going to point right there and hit apostrophe, and it says set teleportation point for tool to be X. And then what we're going to do is, just to demonstrate, is I'm going to go this ladder and, oh crap, dragon. Boom. Teleport. Instant. Wow. Is that great or what? So I no longer have to climb up my ladder, and it's so fast that it's like, okay, I'm in the middle of something, I'm doing something. Oh crap, I fell in lava. Boom. So now you know why I'm so excited about getting that Osgloglas block as a reward. I have got one of those now on here. And just to also show you, let's say I've now got Brown Traveler, or Brown Magic, I should say, on my sword as well. And so we can set a different teleportation point for that. So let's say I'm down here farting around. I'm going to go to that. I'm going to point to this square. I'm going to hit apostrophe, set my teleportation point there. So now with my mining pick, when I hit my Brown Magic oh shit button, boom, I'm upstairs. Switch to my sword, hit it again, boom, I'm downstairs. How do you like them apples? That is some good stuff right there. All right, so that's that. That was really good. We are almost done with our seed oil. This thing is really slow without probably a couple of speed upgrades in it. We could check and see how those are to make it. Speed upgrades. It requires 8 GP in a resonator. So we'd have to build a resonator. We do have the 9 solar panels, so we could build the resonator, but that requires these things, which require other things, which is why I have skipped all that. And we will get a reward for it as soon as we start working on extra utilities for real. But the nice thing, so I could have done this faster with the clockwork engine, but I would have had to stand here while I do it. And the nice thing is it's, while it's slow, it's not exactly burning through a ton of charcoal, so it's not painfully inefficient compared to the vast amount of charcoal that we have. So this episode is dragging on a bit, but I did want to go ahead and push through. It might be a little bit longer one today, but the Osgloglas sort of set me behind schedule. So we're almost done. We almost have our 100 seeds turning into 1,000 millibuckets. which will then allow us to, I think if I put this here, yes, it'll fill up and feed out there. So now I can splash that into my carpenter. So I wasn't familiar with Forestry. This one is new to me on this mod pack. Obviously, I played around with it quite a bit when I was testing this out last week before deciding to do a Let's Play series on it. But the first thing that confused me was that you have these two different boxes. And it took me a minute or two to realize that here I have 50 in my hand, and as I click up here, I still have 50 in my hand. So I'm not actually doing anything other than teaching it a recipe. So basically all I'm really doing here is saying we want a recipe where you take 2 logs. And so now so if we do here, it says no recipe. And now if we do this, we say, okay, we got a recipe, but the inventory needs resources. So now I've told it what to do. I've given it seed oil, which I know it needs for this recipe. I've told it that we're going to use that seed oil on 2 logs, which is good. It tells me it's going to give me impregnated sticks, which is great. But now it needs to actually do it. So we're going to run through, I think each of these I think we're going to do 10 runs of this with this amount of seed oil. So we're going to need like 20, I think, logs. And so now I put that in there, and now it's giving me the error of no power. So I can show you the clockwork engine. So this is probably going to be, this might be one cheater way to try and get some better power going, some hands-free power going. But this is going to be your first real way to get some sort of quicker power going, probably, if you're in a hurry. And so what you do on this is you put it on there, and then you just right-click on it. And as you right-click on it, it goes up in colors to orange, which is fast, and then red. Now, I've heard that these will explode, so I usually only put it a click or two into red and try not to make it explode, and I haven't had one explode yet. And then it'll slowly wind down. So as it gets down to yellow, I generally pump it back up into the orange. But as you can see, it's pumping out some decent RF. Things are moving along fast, or reasonably fast. We've got some impregnated sticks. We're burning through our seed oil. We've got 3 out of 10 recipes done already. This is starting to wind down, and the power is starting to slow down. So we'll wind that back up. But this is not undoable for your first power generation. One thing I did notice about Forestry is that in this case it's allowing us to keep going and stack up the impregnated sticks, but on some of the recipes it appears that you'll do 1 and then it'll stop until you take this out. So that's something to watch for. So we're 60% done, 70% done. Our engine is slowing down again. Pump that back up. And we are almost done. Since I'm standing right here, I will pick out some of our pressed wax, which we're going to also need for our glider. And so I'm going to do one more. Oh, nope. So I got my 20. I used up all my resources. I used up all of my seed oil. There's something called a pipette that you can use to take any leftovers out. I haven't really played with that. I just sort of planned ahead and put in what I needed to use. But now that recipe will stay there, but I've got nothing in the resources and I've got nothing in the that, so I can just click that and it'll go away, and that's not really there. So let's make our glider, finally. So we're going to need hardened leather. I got to get my leather out. I've been making leather on the drying racks. If you haven't been, if you're just joining for this episode and haven't seen past episodes, these drying racks from Tinker's Construct, you can put cooked meat on there and they will eventually turn into leather. If you put raw meat on there, it will turn into jerky. But anyway, we're going to need 2 wings, so we're going to need 12 of these. So, boom, 12 of those. And that was the pressed wax coming out of the honeycomb and wax comb from our Pam's Harvest Craft apiaries out here. So we've had our bees working on that for quite some time. Mostly using it for honey to give us slime balls. Like that, 38 slime balls. And we now have the impregnated sticks. We got 20 of them and we only need 5, I think. So if I do that, boom, I can make 2 wings. And then with 1 more stick and my 2 wings, I have a glider. Yay. So now I'm fairly mobile. Let's go ahead and do a quick test run of that and then we'll call it an episode. Because I need to clean up my inventory and get some things done. So what we do with the glider is I've got my slime boots on in case I fall, but I don't really need them too much now. Occasionally I accidentally click off my glider and fall and take some damage, but it's not too bad. So basically I point it straight down. If you point it down at an angle, you go shooting backwards, but if you point it straight down, you'll go up. As soon as I start going up, I hit hotkey 2 to switch to my glider, and then I right click, and then we are gliding. And if you push W for the WASD to move forward, you do go a bit faster. But yeah, we are now mobile. We can now get places, and get places fast. And then it will just sort of stay on and act a little funky here. So if I right click again, it goes away. Again, if I want to go back, boom, 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 and we're back. So we have just vastly, and I've got my slime boots on, so we'll come in for a hard landing. But anyway, yeah, that was just for kicks and giggles. But yeah, so now we've got that. That is beautiful. I am very happy about that. So for the next episode, this episode went long. I apologize for that if you guys are on a schedule. I know I like some YouTubers. Sometimes during lunch, I will, watch a Direwolf 20 or a Mice of Mischief or Mischief of Mice, or, Hypnotized. Sometimes I'll watch those during my lunch break, so I'm trying to keep these under a reasonable amount of time. But we did get some real excitement with the Osgloglas, so we can now teleport around our base. And we do have 2 ingots left over, which I might go ahead and throw on a couple of these backup tools to use them just as teleportation devices. So that's about it for now. Sorry it went a little bit long. We are going to, next episode, now that I finally got my glider, I'm very tempted to do some large-scale exploration. So maybe explore, out this far in all directions from our base. So like basically unlock all of this map, look for other villages which might have some other neat cyclic charms or ender pearls or other things that I might be needing. I'm going to need to find one of the large astral sorcery temples so that I can make my initial resonating wand and luminous crafting table. So there are a few things that I need to find. And also now that I have instant teleport and a glider, that will make me going to the Nether much, much easier. So I will probably go ahead and run to the Nether and set up a base there. And now looking for another fortress when you can just fly around the Nether and instantly, if things get horrible, just instantly, boom, teleport away from that trouble, back to your Nether base. That is a beautiful thing. So probably those are the next two major things we'll do. I'll review my book and see if there's anything else I want to unlock immediately, and if not, then we will going there. We should be able to grab some cobalt ore real quick, so that'll get us the points for that, and we should be able to harvest some, or come back and get this done, and then it'll give us credit for this. And well, maybe it won't. Maybe I used it prematurely on, and I'll have to make another one to get credit for it. But it doesn't matter. I can do the harvesting, and that's all that really matters. But yeah, so we might continue working on extra utilities now that we sort of got a start on it. We've got to get some industrial craft and actually additions and mechanism going. There's still tons of stuff to do. We want to push on towards, we want to make an impregnated casing, and then the thermionic fabricator. So yeah, there's still tons of stuff to do, and I'm babbling now because I'm still excited about my Osgloglas and my brown magic teleportation. So I will just shut up and sign off now, and I will see you next time. Bye.